Okay, let's turn this screen share off so that we can actually then focus on the two of us. I'm just going to see whether there's a message in the chat box. Yeah, okay, that's nothing. That's nothing too important. Welcome, everybody. It's an absolute joy and pleasure having you with us this morning, particularly at short notice. I know many of you only said yes yesterday because when you managed to get the message to yesterday, so it's an absolute privilege that you found the time in your busy diaries. I'm just going to minimize something so that my screen from my end is more user-friendly. So what we're looking at, as you know, that Aynsley and I are going to focus on is some of the keys to building a much, much stronger and better reputation for your business. Some of the keys to greatly enhancing the profitability of your business and the loyalty that you'll experience from your customers. And the keys to making your business more rewarding, obviously financially, but also more rewarding emotionally, more enjoyable for you, something that really is so much more of a positive thing in your life. So we're looking at that, and that's the really exciting content. Actually, for me, though, the even more exciting content is the opportunity for us to work together to get your name, my name, Aynsley's name, Paul's name, Masami's name on an Amazon best-selling book. We'll come to that very shortly. That's an unmissable part of our time together this morning. We also have 2 books for you as a thank you for taking part this morning. One of which is my now somewhat old book, Stress Proof Your Business and Your Life. Delighted to email that to you. Much more interestingly, because it's much more relevant, is this book, Better Business, Better Life, Better World. Now, this is a book, or the second edition of this, which will be fundamentally different, that can have your name at the top. And the great thing is this book already achieved #1 status in the UK and in Australia in both the business ethics category and I think the business reference category, would you believe? So you can have those 2 books as a thank you, but they are also, one of those books is the opportunity that we have together to write a new edition, a new book together and get your name, my name, well, you won't want my name on the front cover of your book, but your name on the front cover of the book. And we're going to close with 3 simple actions. One of which is free for you to do, one of which is cheap, and one of which is incredibly easy for you to do. So there's an action planning stage at the end. Now, this isn't a webinar, despite the fact that we're using webinar technology. That's just for convenience. We want this to be an interactive meeting, and therefore you can ask questions at any time. At the top of your screen, you'll notice that there is a little menu bar, and one of the options on there is chat. I think there's also a Q&A option. But I don't tend to use the Q&A bit. I'm just looking at my dummy account set over there. So don't click on the Q&A one, but click on the chat one. Often it has a little icon, looks like a speech bubble. And would you just say hello to everybody and by way of practicing using that chat box? So just put a little hello type message in the chat box there. And you should also be able, and when you do that, by the way, you'll notice that the chat box has a little toggle bar. And you can either send a message just to the panelists, which means that only Aynsley and I will see it, and that's kind of pointless if we're trying to say hello. So it's much better if you use that radio button to click on the one that says everyone, and then when you type in your hello message, or indeed any other question later in the day, just as Kay has just done, then everyone will see that, and that's so much more sensible for us all, I think. So,
okay, can I just interrupt you there, Steve?
Yeah.
Paul is saying there's some whooshing on the audio, so I'm not sure if you're Facebook Live or your dummy account or...
I'm turned off. I mean, I can log out of the dummy account if that's a problem. Let me... How do I get out of that, by the way? Just now need to minimize this screen down, which I've no idea how I do that. Oh, there you go. It's that, I think.
Okay, most people have no whooshing, so I don't know whatever's been done is...
It was possibly someone else, which is good. Always glad that it's not my fault. Generally, things in life are my fault, Aynsley, but at least according to Carol. But anyway, so this isn't a webinar. It's great to have so many people on board with us. This is actually a B1G1x in the same kind of way as TEDx, you know, those unofficial TED Talks. This is a kind of a B1G1x, an unofficial event, which Aynsley and I decided to put on because we just want to help what is a wonderful movement for the world, yes, but also a wonderful movement that will make a profound difference in all the ways we promised to your business. So that movement is called B1G1 Business for Good, or at least you can become a business for good. And it's an extraordinary opportunity to lift our businesses up, lift our lives up, lift our families up, lift the world up. And it's a great joy to be able to explain to you or talk you through today how that's going to work. If you imagine, if you would, Different businesses. If you imagine there's a coffee shop where every time someone buys a cup of coffee, a child in Malawi automatically gets access to clean water, so that instead of having to walk 2 hours a day to a well somewhere several miles away and therefore not be able to get an education, a young girl is able to have water in the village, not have to do the walking, and therefore get an education. Or if you imagine a textile business, for every time they sell an item of clothing, then a street child in India is clothed. Or a restaurant where every time someone goes and buys a meal, like the one that I had last night with my dinner dance show with the Queen Tribute Band, a child is fed. Now, these things can cost from as little as 1 cent for to give clean water, or 2 cents to feed a child, or to clothe a child, or actually 14 cents to feed a child. Or imagine a chemist where every time someone buys something or takes a prescription, then anti-HIV retrovirals are given to someone in need around the world. Or imagine a roofing business where every time they fix a roof in the UK, a homeless person in India gets a roof over their head for a week or a month. Just costs a few cents. These are all examples of how businesses around the world are connecting what they do, and Aynsley and I will tell you how we do it. I'm just giving you some other examples first. Examples of how businesses around the world are connecting themselves with causes that resonate to them, things that matter to them, and using that as a way of creating energy and enthusiasm and differentiation, yes, but purpose in their businesses. And as a result of that, getting a huge number of phenomenal results for themselves. Now, I'm just going to toggle across now and open it and show you a website, which for me is profoundly important, and I'm hoping that you will take a look at this later. B1G1 is this movement, which Aynsley and I are both part of, which allows you to identify causes that resonate with you and connect your business to them. So, for example, this is the search engine here. I can choose from something like 1,000 worthy causes, projects around the world. If I've got a particular favorite country, so I have three children, Laura and Katie are 26 and 23 respectively, and we have Johnny who's also 23, he's a twin. Both the girls went out to Malawi when they were at school, and it was formative in their lives. So I may have a particular connection therefore with Malawi. I can either...
All right, Steve, can you share your screen, please?
Oh, am I not sharing my screen? My apologies. Thank you. Getting carried away, Aynsley, aren't I? I do have that habit sometimes. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. My screen is looking somewhat weird at the moment as well. Okay, so now you can see the website. Thank you very much, Aynsley, for reminding me. So what I did before is I went into a pull-down menu here. I found Malawi because for my kids that's particularly relevant. My daughter Laura has become a doctor, in fact, as a result of going there. So I might be particularly interested in health-related projects in Malawi, and I'm hoping I'm going to find some. I can now search, and I've got lots of things open, so this search may take a little while. But what it's going to do when I double-click on it, and hopefully it will do this in a second, what it's going to do is it will pull back a list of projects in Malawi that relate to my preferences. So there they come up. I can, for as little as 1 cent, I can give seeds to nourish a child in Malawi, or for as little as 1 US cent, I can give clean water to a child in Malawi. So, for example, if I was interested in that one, I would simply say, I'd love to give clean water today. I can add that to my basket. It's now as easy as this to change someone's life, and I can either give 1 day's worth of impact or right the way up to a lifetime's worth of impact for $5. And in fact, that is specifically what I do. Every time I sell one of my books from my website or in any other way, I go in here and I give $5. It doesn't matter about the amount. What matters to me is that what that will do is provide 1,825 days worth of clean water for a child in Malawi that fundamentally changes that child's life. And that's the power of what you have here, the ability to connect with causes that resonate with you in a way that works for you, that makes it automatic, an automatic byproduct of the way that you do business. You're able to make a much greater impact around the world. And I think that's so phenomenally exciting. And the brilliant thing, I mean, the absolutely brilliant thing about this is if I go in here, what's extraordinary is, and you can see from this little widget, which you can embed on your website if you chose, That number at the top there, 103,237,448, is the number of micro impacts, the number of days seeds or days worth of water or whatever, these many, many, many different things that businesses like yours around the world are giving. The way that the Business for Good movement keeps score is not by how much money, but by how many of these impacts. And just imagine being part of something that has made 103 million differences around the world. And what's really exciting, as well as showing you the combined impact of the community as a whole, the community of business owners like you and me who believe that we are here to do something worthy, it also allows you to identify the number of impacts that you have had. Now, this is a little widget that I'll show you later on my website, which I downloaded from here. All of these tools are yours to use. And in this particular case, this is the impact that my little business, 3,310,527, that is a shivers down the back of the neck, humbling, spine-tingling number. And you can see scrolling through the screen there, all of the various differences, the micro impacts, whether it's days of training to a businesswoman in Africa, or bookkeeping training, I'm an accountant after all, to a different lady business person in Africa, or water or tuition classes for disadvantaged girls in Cambodia. These are all projects which I support and which are scrolling through the screen there. Imagine how it feels to me right now knowing that my little business has made 3.3 million impacts. And that's how you're going to feel when you do the same sort of thing. And that's going to energize and transform your business in ways that I don't think at the moment you can even begin to imagine. It is really quite extraordinary what's possible here, and the difference that even a little business like mine, a little business like yours, can do. So there's this website facility that we can tap into, and we'll talk around the practicalities of how to really make this, embed this. But there's also a lovely little app which was just launched the other week called Impact Now. And I'm going to do this in front of you. I've set up a giving story on here, which basically says that every time I stick to my health regime, I'm trying to lose weight before we go on holiday. Every time I stick to that, I'm going to give 30 days of tuition to a disadvantaged girl in Cambodia. You can see a picture of me, and you can see a picture of a disadvantaged girl in Cambodia. And when I want to make that giving, I just click on there, and you can probably hear I get a little applause for doing so, and then I can follow through and make the giving. But it's already set up. It's an extraordinary platform that Paul and Masami, which we're privileged to have on the meeting with us, have created. And you also have this ability to use the logo, so you can describe yourself as a business for good. Imagine how differentiating, imagine how powerful being able to call yourself a business for good is. And the brilliant thing is that in that case, I just gave 30 days worth of tuition to a child in Cambodia. That will cost me, particularly when I chose, is $5.60. I think every single penny of that $5.60 goes to the worthy cause in Cambodia. Not a single penny is retained by admin by the charity, which is extraordinary. And you might ask, well, how does the B1G1 movement fund itself? There's a small one-time setup fee that businesses like mine and Aynsley's have paid. There's a small annual fee, just a few dollars in each case, that businesses like mine and Aynsley's have paid. And those things come with a 60-day money-back guarantee, so that if you take a look at this and you decide it isn't right for you, you can just get your money back, which is just extraordinary, isn't it? And they guide you through setting the whole thing up. So we're not going to look at much of the technology today. We're mostly going to look at the principles that are at work here, so that you can really, really see how powerful they are for you. Now, I'm going to hand over to Aynsley in a second, but I just want to do one little exercise with you, and we'll use the chat box for this. And do relax, by the way. We have a whole load of great non-member stuff coming up, non-B1G1 member stuff. So this isn't just about, stuff that B1G1 members can do today. Some brilliant stuff coming up very shortly soon around the book we can write together. But I just want you to, the first example that I used before was a coffee shop. Imagine that there's a street, a high street, and there are two coffee shops next to each other. There's one coffee shop which sells lovely coffee, and next door is an equivalent coffee shop that also sells equivalently lovely coffee, £2 or so a cup of coffee. But in that shop, the second shop, when you go in there, as well as getting a cup of coffee for £2, you understand, because there's a little poster on the wall and they don't shout about it, but in that other shop, in that second coffee shop, every time you buy a cup of coffee and enjoy the coffee, a child in Malawi, a young girl in Malawi, gets access to clean water for that day, which costs about 1 cent. So that particular shop chooses to take 1 cent of the £2 and use the kind of technology that I've just shown you to automate that process of providing water to a young girl in Malawi. Now, when you go in there and you're drinking your coffee, in the first shop, you just get the sense of, you know, the kick that you get from a cup of coffee. But in the second shop, what I think you get, what I certainly get when I go to that kind of, when I do business with that kind of business, is a real sense of joy that, as well as me enjoying a cup of coffee, a young girl in Malawi has been lifted up, doesn't have to spend the whole day walking to a well, and therefore is able to get an education and lift her life up and make things better for her and a future generation. Now, if those two coffee shops are next to each other and they both charge £2 for the cup of coffee, which coffee shop would you go into? Would you go into, so either type yes or no, would you go into the coffee shop that, as well as selling you coffee, also makes a difference to the world? Would you type yes or no into the chat box there, so we can just get a sense? Yes means I'd go into the coffee shop that makes a difference in the world, and no means I wouldn't. So one or the other, get off the fence, make a choice. Which one would you do? Really interesting. Every single person, and I'm not sure how many of these you can see, because some people are still sending their chat messages with the toggle button to all panelists. Please, when you type your messages in, please toggle on the everyone button so that everyone can see your post. But I can assure you, you can see some on there. Every single one that's come through is a yes, or naturally, of course, that kind of word. Just imagine a slightly different scenario now, and here's the business opportunity. Imagine that the first coffee shop were £2 and the second coffee shop were £2.05, or $2.05. Now, type in still, if you would still go to the coffee shop that provides the water, or no, if you wouldn't go, you'd switch to the slightly cheaper one. So still means I'd pay a little bit more to go into a shop where my coffee makes a difference, where my transaction that day makes a difference. So still or yes is what you need to type in if you would pay a little bit more. And so far, every single one has come through still. Just think what this is telling you, what you are saying to yourself. You are saying that a business that does this kind of stuff is going to clean up in the marketplace. If you want a business reason to do this, and actually, let me just roll back one. Don't do this because you want to grow your business, you want to make more money and sell coffee at a higher price. That's a side benefit. Do this because it feels right, because it gives you joy and purpose and your team energy. Imagine, you know, which of those shops is the business owner going to be most proud? The one who's the second shop who's sold more coffee, made more money, and changed more lives. It's going to be that one, isn't it? Imagine which of those two shops the team are going to feel more energized, infused, more determined to sell more coffee, because for every cup of coffee they sell, they change more lives. It's going to be that one, isn't it? This is the key to building a business that gives you joy and purpose and energy and gives you customer loyalty. Because which one of those two coffee shops would you go back to? Which one of those two coffee shops would you tell other people about? In each and every case, the answer is the one that's making a difference in the world, isn't it? And so the ultimate question is, if you want to have a more enjoyable life and build a more successful business and make more of a difference and do stuff that you and your family and your team can be proud about, which one of those two types of coffee shop, and I know you don't run a coffee shop, replace the word coffee shop with any other description, the description of your business, which one of those two types of business should you be? And each and every one of us that cares and wants to make a difference and wants to be more successful and wants to have a sense of purpose and energy should be that second kind of business, shouldn't we? The business where we're making a difference, because that's the business that is going to give us more joy and, in truth, earn us more money. Fantastic, fantastic insights. And I'm really, really proud to have been able to share those with you. But now it's my turn to shut up and pass over to Aynsley to talk about the benefits. So I've given you some theoretical benefits from a theoretical business. Aynsley, if you would talk us through, just explain your business initially so that people can understand where you're coming from, and then talk through, if you would, the benefits that you've experienced from being fully immersed in what we're talking about here.
Great. Thanks, Stephen, and hello to everybody. It's fantastic to see, a huge number of people that have decided to join us today. It's really incredible, and thank you so much for coming to hear us ramble on. Just about a little bit about me, I'm from a firm of accountants that's based in Cheltenham. We've won a number of awards, both locally and internationally and nationally. And we really focus on changing the lives of our clients by helping them grow, increase their profits, reduce their tax bills naturally, but also plan for exit. We also change the lives of our team by challenging each and every one of us to excel at everything we do. And we change the lives of those who really need our help. And that's both locally with the various charities we're involved with and internationally through our association with B1G1. So for us, it's all about making a difference, thinking differently, challenging the status quo and changing lives. And it's across the board. For us, being a member of B1G1 has had immense benefits. And it keeps on, it's a giving that keeps on giving. I want to talk about, first of all, though, the caveat here when we're talking about benefits for a business. This all has to come from the heart. It has to be authentic. If you're going to do this just to make some money or just to put your prices up, it's not going to work. This has got to be embedded throughout your entire organization, and it's got to be at the heart of what you do and what you really believe in. Because your customers and clients will see and smell and sniff it if it's not authentic, and it just comes across all wrong. So when we're talking benefits, we're talking the benefits that accrue from an authentic business. So I think firstly, to start off, for me, I think personally it's the right thing to do. I think governments are strapped for cash. They're really struggling in the world today. You know, we've got a lot of national debt. We've got, everywhere they're trying to cut costs. So governments aren't going to be the ones that are going to be able to make a massive difference in the world. It's down to us as individuals and business owners. And we really believe that business has a massive power to change lives. And so I think for me, it's just the right thing to do. I think I'd also like to kind of lead a little bit from a business perspective. Obviously, being a business advisor, I should be able to give some business advice. I think the business world has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. Everything has changed. Technology is ramping along at a rapid rate. There's a huge amount of competition and masses of small businesses that are forming. And so there's a real huge downward pressure on prices. It used to be in the good old days that just adopting best practice and operational excellence, so that's doing what was right for your industry and doing it really, really well, was going to guarantee you success. Whereas nowadays, that just gets you to the starting line. So your customers and clients can't tell a difference. They don't understand why you are better or different from your competitor. So all they just see is just a sea of sameness. That's a phrase from Seth Godin. And it's about really standing out from the crowd. It's differentiating yourself. It's making you look different in the world so that people can say, now they're different. I can see why they're different. And for us, B1G1 has certainly enabled us to use that as a differentiator. Of course, as a firm, we've taken that to extremes now, and we try and be different in everything that we do. But certainly, if you're looking for a very easy differentiator, and we've just seen on the quick poll that Steve's done, that differentiation certainly has an impact on your customers and clients. For us, obviously, that naturally has led on to client acquisition, and we have met and spoken and found new clients just because of B1G1. Obviously, you need to back that up with really good products and services. It's not just about putting this on as a cherry on top. You need to be remarkable from the inside. But if you've got great products and services, then certainly B1G1 has made an impact in helping us get new clients. And they've told us that. Clients have actually told us that. So that's a really, really powerful reason to be part of it as well. I think the biggest advantage that we get from B1G1 is in relation to team engagement and retention. So our team, we've got new team members because they've come on board specifically because of the giving we do and our involvement with B1G1. We're seeing that in the millennial generation, the world has changed, and they're looking to be part of an organization that does good, that plays a part in the world. And it's not just about a job, it's not just about money, it's being a part of an organization that makes a difference. And so that certainly helps us with acquisition of new team members. And of course, engagement and retention is so important these days. And Buy One Give One has had a massive impact on that. Our team get involved in everything that we do with Buy One Give One, whether it be choosing the projects that we give to, whether it's choosing the amount we give to, whether it's being involved in the events that we do and connect with Buy One Give One, or whether it's going on study tours. Some of my team have been to India and have spent time seeing the projects on the ground and looking at what they're doing. So that's been incredibly engaging for them, rewarding, and it's a massive reason to join Taya Bali Tomlin. I think probably from a vanity perspective slightly, it's helped contribute to the awards we've won. So we've been the most innovative firm in the UK for the last 3 years. We were best advisors to the UK last year, and we've won a host of other awards, including, thanks to Steve, one of the world's most inspiring accountants, or being included in that book. And certainly Buy One Give One has played a massive part in helping us get those awards. It's obviously not the sole reason for that, but it's certainly contributed, and it's been noted by a lot of people about how we've embedded giving into everything that we do, and the success we've made in the triple bottom line model of business. I think also for us massively was the connections and partnerships that we've made. The B1G1 community is amazing, and Steve and I spent a wonderful time in Bali last year at the B1G1 annual conference, and it was probably the best conference I've ever been to. The delegates and the speakers were all taking part in the conference, which was fantastic. Normally, the delegates and the speakers don't get to connect very much with each other, but because we were all in Bali together, it was just wonderful to spend time. It was great to see some amazing speakers and get to share time. And I know Steve and I have known each other probably for 10, 15 years. And it was probably only last year that being part of that conference, getting to meet you and Carol and spending time with you in that environment, that we probably connected more than we've ever done in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met some amazing people, amazing friends, and because we all share a common purpose, that those friends are going to be friends for life, and it's fantastic. And we still connect with each other. I've got, I connect with Helen Campbell from Melbourne, Chris Wildeboer from Brisbane, and I mean a whole host of other people. And it's been an incredible experience to meet people who share a common purpose and to just share ideas and share business and share giving and share everything. It's just been really, really incredible. Also because of B1, I've made a much deeper connection with Daniel Priestley. I mean, he knew about Taya Bali Tomlin before, and we had connected and done some events together. But it was specifically because of Buy One Give One that he really connected us, and through Bali we reconnected again as well, and so we're going to hopefully do some amazing things going forward. We met the wonderful Nikki Mee from Free to Shine, and that's a charity that supports and protects children and particularly girls, I should say, in Cambodia, and prevents them from being trafficked. So it gives them with education, which prevents them from being trafficked, and I think that's hugely powerful. But I suppose last but not least, I've been invited to speak on Necker Island next week. And that's an incredible opportunity, one that I'm slightly apprehensive about naturally, but one that I'm really looking forward to. And again, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if it weren't for Buy One Give One. So, Buy One Give One has been an amazing journey for us, and it's one that I just can't say enough about.
Just to clarify, because I'm not sure that I would have known until the other day, Necker Island is Richard Branson's private island in the Caribbean.
Absolutely.
And so you're going to be there with Richard?
Yes, we're there with 33 other business leaders from around the world. Wow. And we've been invited there as his guests. We're there really to share our ideas on business, but also making a difference in the world. He's very keen on Virgin Unite, and we're there to look at how we can make a difference to our businesses, to our business community, but more importantly, how we can make a difference around the world.
Mm. Wow, that's awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Aynsley, or shall I chip in with the benefits that I've experienced?
No, I think I've probably spoken enough, Steve. I am Irish, by the way.
I can never hear too much of your lovely lilting tones. Well, my business is actually now very different from Aynsley's, although I'm an accountant by background, as many of you know. Aynsley has a proper, large, sizable business with a big team. Actually, the room I'm sitting in is my study here at home, and my business these days is essentially just me and a little bit of speaking and some writing some books. So although I used to run a much bigger business, of course, AVM, but I'm involved with that, but not as a director or a shareholder anymore. So the actual business, the giving and the activity that I'm talking about runs through is my little business of me as a one-man band speaker and a little bit of business consulting, business advisory kind of work. So I'm a tiny, tiny, tiny business, and yet even in a tiny business environment have been able to make a little bit of a difference that makes me proud. That 3.3 million impacts. Actually, much more than proud, it gives me a sense of purpose. I'm 56 this summer, having sort of essentially working towards retirement from much busier work schedules in the past. There is a risk that you kind of run out of purpose when you're a little business, particularly as you're sort of moving towards the later point of business life cycle. But actually getting involved with this movement, this Business for Good movement, has given me an enormous new sense of purpose and a huge amount of joy. It's actually the thing that gets me up in the morning. And Paul uses this expression, or asks this question, complete the following sentence: I get up in the morning because, and whatever the answer to that sentence is what's really driving you. And I get up in the morning because my passion is to encourage accountants and other business owners to make more of a difference in the world, and as a consequence of that, actually they will make more of a difference to their families and to themselves and to their businesses and to their bank account also. So it's given me a sense of purpose, a huge amount of joy. Actually, it also sometimes saves me money. I had a recent situation where I needed to redo my website and had some real issues over a very tiny technical thing, transferring the domain name across to the new platform. And I actually couldn't find anybody to do it who understood how to do it. But there's a guy at work, John, who's the head of IT at AVN, and I asked him if he knew anybody, and he said, I'll do it for you. And I said, well, I want to pay you, but I knew he was going to be reluctant to take any money. So what I did, and I know he's also very much into singing, so when he'd actually sorted it out for me, which he did brilliantly, and I was so grateful, and I wouldn't have been able to have a website without his input, and knowing that he probably wouldn't take money, I made a little giving on his behalf and funded some music lessons for underprivileged children in Southeast Asia, if I remember the location, and also offered to pay him. But I told him that, even before I paid you, what I've done is this for you. And he was absolutely blown away at my expense, but on his behalf, someone around the world got some music training and music input. And for him, he said, I categorically don't want you to pay me a penny. You've done enough already. And I'm thinking, well, that's wonderful. We've spread some joy around and made a difference in someone's life, but actually in the process, it's also saved me a little bit of money because I didn't have to pay him to sort out what for me was a massive problem. You've already seen that I use the app to keep me on track with my health plan. So when I stick to my health regime, I make a giving. I've actually lost 7 pounds, half a stone, since I started doing that in the last 2 weeks. So for me, that's a fantastic benefit of being involved. It also inspires my children. I'm delighted to say that the book, Better Business, Better Life, Better World, was actually edited by my 3 kids. Their names are at the bottom there, and they gave up part of their sabbaticals and years out to get involved in that project, and they are inspired. And as a family, we're setting up a foundation which will just be a sort of a wrapper through which our giving will go, the Pike Family Foundation. And I was inspired to do that by another B1G1 member, Tim Wade, who does it brilliantly. I thought that's a really nice way of explaining what we do. It makes my family feel proud of themselves and of each other. It actually also makes my seminars better, I think. I always talk about B1G1 when I stand up and talk, as long as there's an opportunity to do that. And actually, it helps me engage more fully with my audience, and it makes my customers happier. They are keener to do business with me. So lots and lots of business benefits to me too, even though mine is a very small business, from this room that I'm sitting in. So if I can get real benefits and a real sense of purpose and a commercial benefit too in a little business, and Aynsley can get those benefits in a much bigger and more significant business, and we're both in the accounting space essentially, then clearly this works across the whole spectrum of business sizes and business development. So that's the benefits we've had. Probably a good idea now, Aynsley, if you talk about what you specifically do, and then I'll share some of the other things that I specifically do. But what do you specifically do in your business with this stuff?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I think some people find it really, really difficult to implement it in a service industry. And I think we can all see clearly from a retail environment, if we buy a cup of coffee, then somebody gets life-saving water. If we buy clothes, somebody gets clothes. But if you're in an accounting industry, for example, how do you give accounting? Well, I think it just needs a little bit of imagination to work out how you can connect the services that you're offering with worthy causes all around the world. So we've kind of played around a little bit. So I'm just showing you our website. Hopefully you can see that at the moment. And basically, you can see the business for good branding, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I think it's really important that B1G1 business for good branding that I wear either on a pin or on my phone, if you can see it there, phone cover, or even on our website. It has and on our stands has a massive impact, and people say, "What is that? What's that about?" So that's kind of an added benefit. The giving widget is there, the one that you showed us earlier. So that shows our 1.1 million giving impacts. And how that's all broken down. But for us, it's about connecting and making an impact. So how do we connect with our customers and clients? And we've tried to embed giving throughout our organization and everything that we do. So this is just the main three areas that I probably want to quickly talk about. The first one is when we take on a new client. So when we take on a new client, one of two things happens. Firstly, we either give a goat, and because we're hoping to change the lives of our clients and transform their business, we want to also be able to transform the lives of somebody else. And by giving a goat, that will provide an income for a family for a year in Kenya, which is quite an important giving, and I think it's quite powerful. Our team was also very, very connected with cataract operations, and they really, really felt that those were an important life-changing operation. And so depending on the size of client, we'll either give a goat or we'll give a cataract operation. And those are done by the Bombay and Mothers Children's Society in India. And I've actually been to see them, and what an incredible charity too, or worthy cause. I think it's important to stress, by the way, Steve, and I think I just want to reiterate the point that you're making, that the worthy causes that B1G1 deals with, and that the worthy causes they select to be on the B1G1 panel go through a rigorous vetting process. And it's charities that have already got their core funding in place. And so this top-up funding from B1G1, it doesn't go to core activities. So the charities need to be able to show that the money that comes from you as an individual goes straight through B1G1 giving, which they top up the banking charges on. And that flows 100% directly through to the charity. And that flows directly from the charity 100% through to the beneficiary. So you can categorically say that the money you're giving goes directly to changing lives and impacting lives, and nobody is taking a cut of that anywhere along the line. So I think that's really important for people to understand that, and that the B1G1 supports itself through events and conferences and membership fees and all the things you've discussed. So that was when we take on a new client, so a goat or a cataract operation. Then throughout the year, obviously, it's very, very difficult for us to connect all the little things we do with giving impacts. So what we've done is that we've grouped our team into various teams. And they meet monthly around a cup of coffee or a lunchtime, and they choose the projects that they are going to give to that month. And that's probably, you can see on our giving widget, why we support a huge scattergun approach of worthy causes. It's because the team are involved and they're choosing things that particularly tickle them. And so they're deciding where the funds are going on a monthly basis. And that encourages new team members to get involved and understand the process and why we're doing what we're doing. We also run a number of events. So we do a lot of training workshops. We do the Te Abali Tongan Big Event, which is our big business growth conference on the 8th of June, plug. And if you want to find out more, just type in the box and I'll tell you more about that. But more importantly, when we run an event and we're educating somebody, we want to make sure that education flows through to those that are really in need. And at the moment, we choose various charities. At the moment, we're choosing to give that money to Free to Shine. So that's educating and empowering girls in Cambodia and protecting them from being trafficked. So what an amazing thing to do at an end of an event, for us to say, thank you so much for being here. By you being here, a girl has been saved from trafficking. It's immensely powerful. And we do lots of little things as well, and special givings and charity auctions. But I think from a time perspective, I know we need to move on. So I just wanted to give those three main areas that we focused on. And I know particularly, Steve, you want me to talk about gratitude certificates. By the way, I've got my props today because we've learned on Facebook Live, both screens are being shown. It's important that we're not. I had all my props ready. This is my copy of the Better Life, Better Business, Better World, and you can see obviously that on the top we've got the written by, which is really, really powerful. So it's the same book that we've been talking about, but it's just got the little addition of written by Aynsley. So just wanted to show you that. The gratitude certificate. I think obviously it's easier on big screens, so maybe I can show you this rather than screen sharing, and you get to see a tiny element of me. Can you see that clearly, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this is the gratitude certificate that we've given for the books. So for a sale of a book, we make sure that a girl gets protected for a week. So she's given education and support for a week every time we sell we sell a book, Better Life, Better Business, Better World. But these gratitude certificates we give to everybody. So if somebody attends a workshop, we give a special workshop gratitude certificate. For new clients, we give a special gratitude certificate. And these are so easy to do. There's a little widget on the website. It's easy to import the photograph that's relevant to the giving that you're doing. And it's so easy to type and amend. And it just has a massive, massive impact.
Yeah.
So much so that one of our clients, our new clients that we took on, I know that she was really, really struggling with a son that was severely handicapped, and it was a major driver in her business and the hours she could spend in the business and the results she wanted from the business. And we specifically, rather than choosing a gout or a cataract operation, gave money to support handicapped causes. And when she got the certificate, she just broke down and cried, and she rang me up and said, it's been amazing and an incredible experience. And she still talks about it to this day. She's even joined B1G1 because of it. You know, how wonderful is that to be, not to make somebody cry naturally, but how wonderful is it that you can make such an impact and such a connection with somebody? So incredible.
Awesome. And those are just simply, you know, the clarity with which Aynsley has thought through how to apply this kind of thinking to his particular business. And many of the rest of us are accountants also, and we can take so much away from that. But actually, we can take that out of that context and apply it in whatever business context we're in. Hugely humbling and hugely inspiring and hugely insightful. Makes me feel inadequate in comparison. However, let me share with you some of the things that I do very, very briefly, because I want to get onto the book in a minute because I'm so excited about that. You already know that every time I stick to my diet regime, I use the app to give, in fact, 30 days of tuition. And I've chosen that because for me, if at the end of the day I'm not in a position to do that because I haven't stuck to my regime, I feel guilty, which is what I want to do, because I've struggled so much to lose weight in the past, and yet, as I say, I've lost half a stone since I've been doing that. So it works brilliantly for me. On a business level, every time someone buys one of my books on my website, as I told you before, I set up what's called a giving story. That's a connection between something that happens, someone buys a book, and something great that then happens as a consequence, which is the giving of clean water for life to a child in Malawi, which then changes their life in the way that we talked about before. If you've had emails from me, I've got multiple email accounts, but for most of them, I've set up a footer, an automated footer on every email, that for every email that I send, clean water for a day is given. Now, how I do that is every month or two, I look at my email sent folder, and there's a little total at the bottom of how many emails are sent. I keep a running total spreadsheet. I deduct the running total the previous time. That gives me the number of new emails sent, and then I just make a giving for that number of new additional emails. Really straightforward, really powerful, and every email that goes out from me has that little message about making a small difference in the world together as a byproduct of us sharing an email conversation with each other. So that's a regular activity. I do lots of one-off things. So, for example, I already told you about John, the guy that fixed my computer and made a giving to music causes that resonated with him. I was the speaker at an Institute of Chartered Accountants in Scotland event this time last year, actually, and I was expecting to see Jim Stark from Stark Maine in the audience. He was on the delegate list, but sadly he wasn't there, and I didn't appreciate until later in the day when someone said, haven't you heard, Jim sadly passed away with cancer. Now, Jim was a lovely, lovely guy. He just passed away a matter of days before. I was already raising some money through sales of my book that day, and I decided that rather than for the water cause in that case, I touched base with Jim's partner, Ian, and found out that as a family, they were really, they loved orangutans. So I typed orangutans into the search engine that I showed you before and was able to make a giving which preserved the environment for orangutans in Borneo. And then the joy that brought to me being able to do that, but the comfort and the joy that it brought to a family and a business that was really struggling from the loss of one of their two leaders and the husband and father and the wonderful, wonderful man that Jim was. There are so many different ways that you can use this. As you saw, it's embedded on Aynsley's website. It's embedded in mine too. There's this wonderful little thing called the giving map. I'm just going to show you this because this is also another one of the things that this does, which is again incredibly humbling. I think it's one thing knowing that you've made 3 million impacts, as it were, or however many it is, but so this is my website. You can see I use the logo, I use that widget. And in fact, Aynsley, I have a confession to make. The wording at the top of my giving page here was basically, I took yours and tweaked it slightly. But essentially you inspired me with your wording there. So anybody who wants a shortcut, just copy Aynsley.
Absolutely. No, copy anybody.
Borrow and adapt from anywhere. But what I want to show you here is, as well as seeing numerically the number of impacts, there's this fantastic thing called the Business for Good map. And for each and every business, there's an equivalent map for Aynsley. Let me just put it full screen so that you can see it. So this is little me up here, Steve Pipeman. These are all the places in the world that, working with my customers, we've been able to make a small difference. Each of the countries, so you can see Malawi's down here, and Cambodia, and all over Southeast Asia, and India, and Africa. And I could click on any of those and see exactly what was given. And I can also then see who else is giving to those particular causes. So there are other businesses around the world. This beautiful tool that visually shows you the difference that you're making and the connections that you have with other like-minded business owners, entrepreneurs around the world, the sort of connections which end up in Aynsley going around about there to Necker Island next week. I mean, these connections can take you all sorts of amazing places, can't they? It's extraordinary, I think. So there's so much that the technology platform allows you to do, and so many great things that flow from all of this. Because I only run this little business, and therefore my ability to make a difference as an individual is obviously therefore limited, although 3 million differences as an individual, it's just wonderful what we're able to do. But actually I wanted to try and do more than that. So my main focus has been on trying to get other people involved and come on board with this movement. And I'm through it. So I launched a thing called Accountants Changing the World. I know actually quite a lot of you on the meeting are signatories to Accountants Changing the World. There are 160 firms of accountants around the world that are signatories. And one of the things that those firms have pledged to do, but it's not binding in any sense, but is give in the sorts of ways that we've seen here. And in return, there's a whole raft of resources and tools and guidance that makes it easier to run an accounting firm. And what's incredibly humbling, and even if you don't have, almost any money to give, if you have energy and enthusiasm and you have connections, you can get other people involved. And it's staggering to me, but one of the things that the B1G1 website also calculates is what they call your leveraged impact, the givings made by people that you have introduced. Now, in my case, because I've introduced quite a lot, that figure is a staggering 9.5 million additional giving. So I can sit here and with shivers down the back of my neck say that, well, because of me trying to spread the word and encourage other people to come on board with this wonderful movement, another 9.5 million little differences have been made by hundreds of other businesses and accounting firms around the world. And imagine if we all did that, if one bloke can make that kind of impact, then collectively the impact that we can all make just by doing little things. And this is that marginal gains principle. It's the same principle that skyrocketed British cycling to the top of the Olympic medal table, 3 Olympic Games in a row, from obscurity, making lots of little changes and doing lots of little things, the cumulative effect of which is extraordinary and way beyond any of our wildest dreams. Okay, I'll probably need to shut up there. I want to get onto the book very, very soon, but if you If at this point, you've seen enough, you know that this is something you want to get involved with, and that's fine if you're not ready for that. But if you have seen enough, you just need to go to the B1G1 website. You can find out more there. And if you want to actually get someone from B1G1 to talk you through how it might work for you, I've put a link right at the very top of this chat thread, and I'll try and copy that into the chat thread again in a minute. But essentially, there's a link there that when you click on it, I'm going to put it in the chat thread, will allow you to access the diary of the team at B1G1 and book a 20-minute phone conversation just to find out a little bit more and how it might work for you. But if you're ready to go ahead, if you want to be involved with this, then you can just go to b1g1.com and join us in the movement straight away. And Aynsley very kindly has typed that link in. So if you click on that link, that will allow you to set up a 20-minute conversation, which is brilliant. So very briefly then, some top tips from you, Aynsley, and then I'll share some of my top tips. So I'll stop sharing my screen now. So what are your top tips, Aynsley?
Okay, I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 main top tips, but I've also seen things that I've seen around the world other B1G1 members doing, which I thought was quite cool. So I will rattle through them because I know we want to keep on time. So I think my first major top tip is that you need to engage your team. This is a fantastic way to build culture, to create an organization that really has a strong purpose, a strong feeling of worth and self-worth. And I think team engagement is critical, and it's very easy to do. If you want some help on it, the B1G1 team are happy to get involved, and Steve and I will happily share what we know as well. I mean, nobody's perfect. We all have ideas of doing things, but team engagement is critical. I think it's also important how you explain and engage your customers and clients and prospects on this. It needs to be done in a clever way. It doesn't need to be. It's very important. Coming from the British psyche, we don't like bragging. It's not something that we shout about. So you need to understand how you can engage your customers and clients and prospects, and how you kind of market. I mean that in the loosest possible sense. I don't mean it in an aggressive way. How you explain your involvement with B1G1, because that's really important as well. I think we have got some local charities involved in the international B1G1 panel, so we've been able to look at charities that we think are involved. So it's not just about international; it's also about local. So there are many ways of engaging with local charities, and helping them with B1G1 is probably a massive thing to do, and exposure for them as well. So that's really, really good. Spreading the word is important because businesses, we have the power to make a difference. Even if just every single one of us did just something small together, that would just be massive. There's 5.4 small businesses in the UK, so just think of that. It's incredible. So spreading the word, and also spreading the word to your team and everything else. Blog content is probably really, 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 really good. I think the top tips I've seen from around the world. There's one from Cheltenham. Of course, I have to plug Cheltenham. Why not? I've seen a dentist, and they have tip jars. And so whenever you've gone to see the dentist, they give you a little token, and you put it in the 3 projects that they happen to be supporting that month. It's a very visual way of doing it. It's a bit like Waitrose, really, and I'm not sure who we're too off, but that's not really important in the spirit of giving. And I think it was a really cool way of engaging people and helping them get involved in the decision-making process. Of course, nowadays with the app, you can do that on the app, and that's again another very visual way of doing it. And I know from Paul that there are vets doing it in the States, I think, via the app, so you just get to choose which giving you want to do. Kobomo in Noosa, they sell amazing clothes, and really, really colorful clothes, and they have designed some wonderful little swing tags that go with the clothes. A beautiful way of explaining what they're doing, and I think if you've got a product to sell, then including it on the label or on the packaging, wow, what a fantastic way to explain it. Another good friend is Helen from Knox Audiology in Melbourne, and she does some wonderful things with receipts. So she puts the what's happened on a receipt, and so every customer gets to understand how they've made an impact and how to change in the world, which is lovely. And finally, Adam Houlihan in Australia as well. Of course, there's a lot of Australians here, but There's many that we've met over the years. Adam does some amazing things on LinkedIn. So when he connects with somebody, because we all now are talking about, well, is social media really a big disconnect? It's about lots of connections, but are we really disconnecting when we're on social media? Well, Adam completely flips that on its head. And so when any time he connects with somebody, rather than just the thank you for your connection, he says, thank you so much for the connection. Because of this connection, this is what's happened. This is what's been done in the world. And wow, isn't that a great start to that relationship? A really, really great thing. So sorry, Steve, rattle through those quickly. Happy to chat another time. We'll happily do this webinar again and in more detail if people are interested in top tips.
Those were awesome top tips, and I know that you have loads more, and I have a few as well. I'm going to have to keep mine short because I want to get onto the book very, very shortly. I guess my single top tip, and the more I think about this, I think this is fundamental, is don't fall into the trap. And the trap is thinking, I will get involved with making a difference later when my business is bigger or more established. The only time there is now. Don't wait until your business is big. Just find a way of using this stuff for wherever your business is now. Find a way now of using it now for wherever your business is now. Find a way that's perfect for you now, and don't wait, because we all know that stuff that we're going to do in the future never actually happens. I think that's my biggest single tip. My other tip, the one that I was going to share, was that, look at a whole host of websites from other B1G1 firms. Categorically look at Aynsley's for sure, and Knox Audiology is a great one as well that you mentioned. But one of the things you can do on the B1G1 website is you can pull up a list of businesses for good, and then you can click through to their websites. You will be amazed, you will be inspired, you will be enlightened, you'll be informed. There's so much valuable stuff that you'll get in terms of the things that you can do. And I suspect we might have a list of those websites that have just been put in the chat box, possibly by Paul or someone. I've just seen it jump up. So there's so much out there, and I think we've got a list of great businesses or great websites that you might want to look at in the chat box. If on many of those websites you will see this book, because actually my top tip around B1G1, but also around building your business generally, is write a book. And I've written 6 or 7 books, and they have really been the essence, the bedrock, the driving force behind much of my little success that I've had in business. But the books have been fundamental and incredibly valuable. And the great news is that this particular book, which was written at the conference last year, then a new version of this book is going to be written this year. And that's the book that it'd be fantastic for you, me, Aynsley, and a whole load of other people to write together. And you can have your name on the front cover. And that's my second top tip. And that then leads me into the third one, which is the B1G1 conference. Let me just tell you a story. Last year, Carol and I, we've been married for 32 years. We flew, I was going to say drove, but that would be impossible. We flew all the way from here in Leeds out to Bali. That is a flipping long way. It's a 2-day travel effectively. And we went out there and we joined Aynsley and a handful of other British business owners, but business owners from around the world, inspiring business leaders from around the world at the B1G1 conference. And it was, as Aynsley said, the best conference I've ever been to, and categorically worth the thousands and thousands of miles of travel and the thousands and thousands of pounds in order to get there and so on. And I'm telling you about that because the great thing is this year, the conference isn't in Bali. The conference is close to us. In the UK, it's in Birmingham and it's in Miami. I think if you're in the States, and I know some of you are, and it's on the Gold Coast, I think, if you're in Australia. We traveled all the way out to Bali, though, and we're absolutely going to the conference in this summer in Birmingham because it was transformation, it was inspiring, and it was brilliant. The thing that really, I mean, it still sends shivers down my spine. I've had a lot of shivers down my spine today, haven't I? But the thing that really sends shivers down my spine, though, is this book that we wrote collectively at that conference last year. And I'm thrilled to say, as I said, that my kids even edited it, and it got to #1 in Australia and the UK. And what's wonderful about this book, in my opinion, and so the book that we can write together will be exactly like this, but a second edition, as it were, or an updated new version. What it takes, the title, Better Business, Better Life, Better World, comes from the fact that each of the chapters in here, and every delegate, I wrote a chapter, mine's about 4 pages long, some chapters are 1 page long, some are 15. It's entirely up to you how much you write. But every chapter has the same structure and answers the same 3 questions. If you could only pass one piece of advice to your grandchildren and you knew with absolute certainty that they would follow it, what would that advice be to make their businesses better? One piece of advice. What advice would you give them to make their life better? Second piece of advice. Third piece of advice, what advice would you give them to make the world better? So you just think about the key advice that you would pass down through your family line, the future generations of your family. And that really gets you thinking. You don't have to have, you know, any history of writing books or writing anything in reality. You just got to think about the key advice that you would pass down the line. And what we ended up with is an extraordinary collection of wisdom and insight across an extraordinary variety of issues and input, and the reviews on the back, you know, it was described as incredible life-changing wisdom. This is the book to win the game of life, a powerful masterpiece. I love it, and you will do. A must-read for any entrepreneur. Imagine your book with your name on the front, having testimonials like that, being filled with content like that, timeless content. We think that actually this is rather akin to, if you come across them, the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. You know that Chicken Soup for the Soul? Lots of little bits of input and guidance from around the world that's really uplifting and powerful and impactful and liberating and joyful. That can be your book, and that's why the book got to #1 in Australia and in the UK. And the joyful thing is, not only does your name go on the front cover, but you then get the rights to distribute the book. You can print them if you choose, and currently this one is in hardback, it's in paperback and Kindle. You can print them yourself, you can sell them, you can give them away. There's so much you can do with your book, and you don't pay anything for the rights, because as a co-author you have those rights already. All that we ask is you make for every copy you give or sell, you make a giving of any size through the B1G1 engine. So it could be as little as 1 cent. You might sell it for 35 quid and give 1 cent. You might choose a different combination. Of course, it's entirely up to you. But the point is, you'll get your book and we'll write it together, and you can choose whose names go on the front cover, yours and the likes of Paul Dunn and Daniel Priestley. So the benefits of that, apart from the joy and the pride, is it will really boost your reputation. You can sell it, you can give it away so you can earn money from it. You can use it as a freebie to generate leads, to list build. You know, in the UK, we have much, much tougher rules coming in about how you can gather people's information and when you can email them, when you can keep them on your database, so data protection rules. And you have to give people, therefore, a really strong reason why they're willing to be on your list. Well, giving them a copy of your book is that kind of strong reason. And I'm going to share with you one of the best quotes I've come across in an absolute age. And I'm going to turn my screen on for this, and I'll attribute it to the man who said it, and I'll also explain where it came from. You should now be able to see my favorite quote. This is actually a screenshot from Paul Dunn, who is on this meeting with us. Paul posted this on Facebook, and it's something that Daniel Priestley said, and I think it is brilliant, which is why I've written it on the right-hand side there. The book that will make the biggest difference in your life is not the book you read. I've read lots of books. I've got the ones over here. It's not the book you read. It's the book you write. How powerful and how true is that? And imagine being able to join in a brilliant book project that becomes your book project, the book you write, in conjunction with other brilliant, inspiring business leaders around the world. And so that's the one that will make the biggest difference to your life and to your business and to the joy and to your family and to your pride. It's a phenomenal opportunity. And as I said, the first edition of this book got to #1 status, paid for, not free. You know, bought through Amazon. It reached #1 in business reference and business ethics in the UK and in Australia, which is just extraordinary. So all of those things happen at the B1G1 conference. We'll explain that in much more detail. We'll start the process of you writing your chapter for the book at the conference. So you need to be there if you want to be part of that process. Now, the conference happens in Birmingham in late June, early July. I think it's the 30th of June to the 1st of July. It's a 2-day conference. You can come for just 1 day if that works for you. If you go on the B1G1 website and that link at the bottom there, which I think Aynsley has just nicely cut and pasted into the chat box, thank you. And you use the big Steve B1G1 discount code at the top, it will reduce the price of coming to the conference by 150 quid. That's a massive saving. So, you know, don't pay full price. Come. You don't have to be a member to come. You don't have to be a B1G1 member to come. Use that discount code. Save yourself 150 quid. Get 2 days of inspiration and joyful upliftingness. Bring your team, bring your family. I'm coming with Carol again. was hoping that my 3 kids would come, but actually they're all over the world as it happened. But Laura, the oldest, will hopefully be able to join us for one of the 2 days. She's a doctor. She has shifts to work around. So the discount code is Steve B1G1, so my first name and then B1G1. Use that. You'll save yourself a shed load of money. You will make a huge difference. Because remember, the book that will make the biggest difference in your life and actually to the world, I think, is not the books you read, but the book you write. Let's write one together. Really, really excited about that prospect. Let's just, because we're now a couple of minutes overrun. Actually, I just got to tell you this. The last time Aynsley and I did one of these events, which was B1G1 members, and we did it last Tuesday, we overran by about 9 or 10 minutes, and we're going to overrun by about 4 or 5 today, I think.
We're getting better.
One of the delegates sent me a gratitude certificate. I don't know whether I told you this, Aynsley. Sent me a gratitude certificate, and for every minute I'd overrun, he'd given a Marmite sandwich. It's ordinarily, that's one, if you type Marmite into the B1G1 giving engine, because Marmite sandwiches are full of nutrients, for every minute I'd overrun, he'd given a Marmite sandwich to a person in Africa, and he sent me a gratitude certificate. So thank you for overrunning. The content was great, and Marmite sandwiches have been given as a result. Isn't that just awesome what you can do with this stuff? Anyway, I promised you 3 actions. Action number 1 is if you want the free books. So the 3 books, bearing in mind, are a digital copy of my previous book, Stress Proof Your Business and Your Life, which is really business focused. A digital copy of the first edition of the book that we could write together, Better Business, Better Life, Better World. What you've got to do now, and this is to check that you're awake, is type books, please, into the chat box, or just books will do. So type books, please, or books into the chat box. I can see that Kay's done it already. That's the first action. That's completely free. We'll then email you those books completely free, probably in about an hour's time or so. That's the first action. The second action, which is cheap, is use that discount code to greatly bring down the price of coming to the conference. Meet us at Birmingham, or meet Paul and Masami out in Miami or Australia if that works better for you. But Aynsley and I will be in Birmingham at the conference. Use that link, use that discount code to save yourself some money. That's your second action. And your third action, which is the easy one, is if you want to find out more, if you're ready to take this journey with B1G1 alongside Aynsley and I and hundreds of other brilliantly inspiring business leaders around the world, go to the B1G1.com website. Or if you want to book a meeting, a 20-minute phone conversation with one of the B1G1 team to find out a little bit more before committing yourself in any way and see how it might work for you. And if you've got any other questions, use that link there. We'll put them both in the chat box again. In fact, Aynsley, if you could do me a favor and put those 2 links in the chat box, that would be brilliant. Because those are your 3 actions. The first one of which, let me just remind you, is free. Type books into the chat box so we can send them to you. The second one is, for sure, come on the conference. Let's spend 2 great days together. Let's write a book together. Yeah, use that discount code to make it much more affordable. And the third one is come on board with B1G1 if you choose to, or at very least find out some more. It's really easy. It's really powerful. It's really joyful. And so Aynsley's put the B1G1.com link in there. If you'd also put the meeting link again, Aynsley, that'd be brilliant. I have a bit of difficulty, talking and typing at the same time, but mostly actually I have difficulty sometimes in cutting and pasting when Zoom's up. It seems to disable my cutting and paste facility, which is mighty weird, isn't it? Those are the 3 actions, and I think it just remains, having overrun by about 8 minutes. I don't need a certificate with Marmite sandwiches, but if you want to do something like that, that would be fantastic. It just remains for both Aynsley and I to say a huge thank you. Our contact details are on the screen there should you want to talk to us directly. It's been a joy and privilege spending the morning with you. Aynsley, thank you so much for all that phenomenally insightful and practical and useful content. So I guess we've probably pretty much finished. And looking at the delegate list, I reckon almost every single person has stayed to the end, which is also the mark of a successful event. A huge thank you to you too for staying till the end. I expected you to stay to the end. Sorry.
No, of course. Can I just say thank you for everybody for listening to us warble on? But can I also mention, a few people have been asking, can I mention that this has been recorded? It's on Facebook Live, so we'll share it on Facebook Live, but we've also recorded it and we'll share it with you afterwards. So if you want to go back and look at anything, then it's easy to do. So thank you, thank you so much for being a part of this. And again, thanks Steve for organizing it and for driving this forward, because I really feel passionate about this, that we can really make a big difference. And if each one of us just got 10 more people to join this movement, then wow, the world would be so much a better place. So thanks, Steve.
Without a shadow of a doubt, you know, it's just there's some lovely comments coming through, and some of them are only to the panelists, but there's some lovely, just because people haven't clicked the toggle button. It's so uplifting to see such lovely feedback from everybody. It's been a joy spending the morning with you all. Joy, as always, spending time with you, Aynsley. Looking forward to our time together in Birmingham, which is not going to be quite as glamorous as Necker Island, but even so, it's going to be awesome.
I love Birmingham.
Yeah, well, me too. The NEC area, you know, the Crown Plaza, which is where it's at, by the way, is always a great place to go back to. So many happy memories from other great conferences there. Fantastic. The video, as Aynsley says, will be available. I know lots of you have asked about how can I share this message with my team, and the video, which we'll send you a link to, but you can also, if you want to see it straight away, as soon as we finish this, it's been Facebook Live, you will see it on my Steve Pipe Facebook thread. But we'll also send you a link so you can download the video and use it offline as well if you choose to. Great joy being with you all this morning. I'm going to call the meeting to an end now. I'm going to save the chat log and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much, Aynsley. Bye for now.
Thanks, Steve. Bye.